All right, I had a great question from Chuck on one of my comments. He asked us, do most kind of elite players or tour pros have passive hands? And because he said he noticed when he swings his pro, well, he does so with very passive hands, and almost like he's letting go of the grip. And yes, that is definitely a truth for working with the pro. The passiveness of the hands is part of the learning curve. Eventually, as you get better with the pro, you'll be able to keep your hands on there. But yeah, letting it wobble a little bit is useful. So why is that a useful idea? Well, the hands are your first and primary connection to the golf club. And so as opposed to saying a tour pro has passive hands, which I think that you would remarkably find to be true, depending on the shot they're hitting, but there would be a softness, particularly as the golf club comes down. There wouldn't be a firmness on the golf club. The reason is that the tour pro has learned how to bypass the center of mass of the golf club. And so to extend the radius of the golf swing in a spiral that's going to have a natural acceleration to it, you cannot locate the mass of the golf club through the shaft. The moment you locate the mass of the golf swing through the shaft, you create distortion. That's exactly why when you swing the pro, it forms an angle when there is a distortion in the motion. And fair to say, the most common distortion, I would say, for the recreational player is that they are unknowingly trying to swing the club using the shaft. There's a part of them that is actively using the muscles of the forearms and the wrists to either hold the golf club and pull it, or to swing it, or usually a combination of both on some level. So it isn't that you have to have a massive amount of passiveness in the hands, but you would have to actually have an understanding that, can I tell when I am when I'm searching for the golf club through the shaft? And anytime you search for the weight of the golf club through the shaft, it will travel into the rest of your body, because anytime the body applies a force to the club, it applies an equal and opposite force to stabilize itself. It feels the center of gravity getting shifted, and so it shifts something else at the exact same time in a locking form. It's the same kind of balance you would use to not fall over if you were tripping. And then that stalls the motion until it feels like it can go again, then it lets go. So everybody's golf swing is this kind of combination of, you'd almost call them like mini starts and stops. But anyways, so there really isn't a solution to this. It's much more of an awareness. So what I would suggest for anybody when they pick up the golf club is just kind of notice, what's it like to just reach with the golf club? How do I need to move so I don't feel the weight of the golf club? What is that like? Anytime you try to experience the weight of the golf club, even whether you're pulling or you're putting enough pressure against the shaft, the club will tend to expand away from you too early. Whereas if I'm actually not putting anything on there, then the golf club just tends to hold its shape and descends very close to the body and then spirals outwards. So that's what a tour pro has done. So if you can do that by holding it firm but have the suppleness in the joints where that movement is allowed to be free, so be it. And I think that you're going to find that some tour pros can hold the golf club pretty tight because they have an extreme range of motion in their wrists. If you have less wrist motion and mobility, you probably would need to almost feel like the club comes out of your hands a little bit. Players like VJ and Fred Couples come to mind, who actually have a softness, like where their hands are coming off the golf club even as they're striking the ball. We know for sure that their grip pressure is decreasing. So keep that in mind. Again, it isn't so much about grip pressure, but it is about putting a force on the shaft of the golf club is what I really want to avoid doing. And if I can understand that concept, and a great way to do that is to use the pro and learn how to swing it without bending it, then I have a much deeper intelligence with how the whole body works together to use the club as something that is effortless to reach to the ball, as opposed to a force to try to swing the club.